All right, boys, we're gonna kick it off. Welcome to episode 2 of the Big Boys League podcast. It was such a good time for episode 1. We decided to run it back just the night after. So we're pleased to have Jeremy joining us, and we got the same crew from last time as well. So again, I'll introduce myself. I'm Tyler, and my squad in the Big Boys League was Hale Murray.
Got Anthony, the Stallion Regulator.
And I'm Johnny El Durango.
I better
And
add
Jeremy, Jeremy Carino,
the Stallion. Oh God, if I do this,
the
it screws
Stallion
it up.
Regulator.
Okay, we'll just leave this here.
Don't encourage that.
It's on the
Okay.
trophy, boys. It's on the trophy. It's there forever.
It is on the
I
trophy.
don't know. That can't be allowed. That wasn't your name in the league, and you put yourself as a Stallion Regulator. I feel like that
Yeah,
should
but the
get-
trophy allows for your name, so it says Anthony the Stallion gets in with the team name above it.
Fine.
Of course, he found a loophole.
Always.
Always. So to bring us on track here, what we're going to talk about today, of course, is we're trying to do a deep dive on every individual manager's team. We had a great deep dive on Johnny's team yesterday, and today we're focusing in on Jeremy's. And we'll start off just on where we ended in the 2020 to 2021 standings, and that was right here, the regular season. We do have a unique rule in this league where the 6th place team is basically in a pool with all the remaining teams. So 6 teams make the playoffs, and they're in there with the bottom all the way down to 12. And the team with the highest regular season score gets that 6th spot. So it's not necessarily guaranteed to that 6th place by record. And I think if I'm reading this correctly, it looks as though Lee beats you here by about 54 points to nab that spot for you. Does that sound right, Jeremy? Jeremy.
We lost Jeremy.
We lost Jeremy. Oh no, I have to do the whole thing over again?
This one do.
Oh no.
Maybe. Hold on. Give him a second. Maybe he's just shy.
Live television, everyone. Oh my God.
Let's see how good Tyler's editing is. He might be able to cut this part and snip it back.
I don't think I can. I don't think I have editing at all.
Oh, no.
I didn't pay for that. We only get one shot at all this, boys.
we could just do it. We could just do when it starts. Please skip to this.
Please skip.
This time code. Yeah.
Play elevator music.
Yeah.
God. Where we?
Oh, there he is.
Oh,
There he
there
is.
he
felt
is.
like it was just cutting out so much. Like,
Oh no. Well, we swung it over to you for a question, and it was just blank space. So that was super awkward. You know what? We're doing it live.
that was my response. That's what I thought of your question.
We're doing it live. Well, the question was essentially about
Pure rage.
how you missed your 6th and last playoff spot to Lee because he had more regular season points than you. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. That was pretty painful actually, because so I kind of ended up exactly where I thought I was going to be. When I made the team, I did kind of gear it a little bit on the younger side, but I kind of wanted some impact players, so I kind of finished where I thought I was going to be. I did think I was going to make it in, but when it started coming down to points, that just didn't work out for me. But like the matchups with the weeks that I had, I did make some strategic lineup changes, I think, that kind of helped out with winning individual matchups. But yeah, I mean, I think from a punching standpoint, like offensive power, I didn't really have it there. And seeing the 2 Goliaths go at it in the championship, I definitely didn't belong in the playoffs. So, you know what? It didn't work out. And stuff. I was gonna kind of pivot a little bit and try to get some draft capital, but I think we're past the trade deadline, and I thought I could make the playoffs with my team as constructed, and barely missed it, but I can't complain about it too much.
Still had a strong season. It was the beginning,
Yeah.
the inaugural season and whatnot. And I think that leads us into a good spot actually, which is to talk about your beginning of the season and what direction you took it in. So I've got the draft up here, and you ended up with the 12th pick. So you're at the end of the snake, and walk us through your draft. Obviously we start off with DeAndre Hopkins, but kind of walk us through, what was your strategy leading into it? How much prep did you do? This was, of course, a dynasty league. What were your thoughts, and were there maybe specific players that you were targeting? Who'd you get? All that good stuff.
God, to be completely honest, I don't know. Like, I think I really didn't like my draft slot was okay. But I think my first two picks there, I mean, I kind of took who I felt was kind of the best players at the time in terms of just positioning. So that's why I went with Hopkins and Mixon. I've never had Hopkins in the league, so I kind of always liked them. So I got him. Joe Mixon, he didn't really work out for me as well just because he was injured, but he's a young running back. I do think that the Cincinnati Bengals are up and coming. He just signed that extension and everything. So I did draft him a little bit higher than I would typically like. Again, I've never really been a big Joe Mixon fan, but I kept it in terms of dynasty. And I will say that my third pick.
Wait, Jeremy, with Cincinnati up and coming, is that why you chose all three running backs from Cincinnati?
You know what? No. Well, I needed to have I needed Giovanni Bernard because of Joe Mixon's
always gets hurt.
Yeah, exactly. So and whenever Mixon goes out and Bernard's in, Bernard always gets he's the lead back. They're not splitting. They typically don't split carries and stuff. So that's why I got him, but I didn't get him until later.
That was the pick. I was the one looking at your draft. Look, Carson Wentz, I could understand picking it because you started to panic. I think
I did.
You needed a quarterback.
No,
if I remember correctly.
Taking all the quarterbacks and stuff, and I was just like, I mean, I didn't really know who else to get at the time, and I thought Carson Wentz. I mean, everyone talks about he's garbage now, but no one knew what the season was going to be like, right? And I thought, along with some other people, and that's what you get when you listen to analysts, right? So I thought he was going to have a renaissance year. I really thought he was going to. And again, he's a quarterback on the little bit on the younger side, so that's why I went from there. But obviously, things didn't really work out. He's on the new team, but we'll see.
I feel like that's the exact same hype as like Joe Mixon. Like I chose him in 2 other leagues, and they just put him as like a poster child of he's up and coming, he's fresh, he's ready to go, and the strength, and just happened to disappoint.
Mm-hmm. I think leading into the dynasty format where you're not only trying to balance youth for your team, but you're also dealing with the fact that it's a super flex league, trying to kind of prioritize whether or not you go for quarterbacks early in those one quarterback leagues. Of course, a lot of times you can very easily just go with someone super late and be completely fine. Try to bolster your roster elsewhere with really, really high top picks and just get like a quarterback late since they're kind of a lot more easy to come by. Not really the case in the Superflex League. I'm looking at the picks ahead of time. We obviously go Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray. And then Dak, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, Josh Allen, those are all, I would say, probably in the correct format above where Wentz was going. Just kind of interesting. So you went Wentz ahead of, Matt Ryan. Joe Burrow obviously was a rookie. Wentz was still young.
He could have the Bengals on his team.
You should have picked Burrow. You should have went all Bengals.
Man, I don't know.
Aaron Rodgers in the 5th round afterwards, the MVP.
Yeah.
He's super old. That's a tough pick, but
that's why I didn't do it. That's why I didn't do it. So I mean, come on.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the worst pick. I mean, considering where you thought people were going to be, and everything. I did think about Josh Allen, but I mean, no one knew at the time where he was going to have an MVP type season. So,
right.
A lot of the good quarterbacks, they all went, So, and you're exactly right. I really did panic because I literally saw all the good quarterbacks go. I mean, I think all the quarterbacks taken before got drafted where they should have. When you consider their age and just kind of like and how good they are, right? So, I kind of went with somebody who I thought might be good, but a little bit on the younger side. So,
yeah, kind of went in the middle.
Oh well,
you said. For the consistency. I mean, it's not a bad pick when you look at it, especially, with the mindset that we all had. I mean, there was tight ends were off the board really quick. Like everyone was starting to really panic, and the draft was insane.
Jeremy, looking at the rest of the draft, if I can unhighlight this and get everyone, if that even works. Here we go. Were there picks or were there individual picks that you were super impressed by, or were there individual managers that you thought put together a really good kind of first run of the dynasty thing? What were your thoughts just in the dynasty draft in general?
Part 2 of losing Jeremy.
Part 2. Wow, I've stunned him. He's
All right,
stunned.
when Jeremy gets back, I'm just going to go over into this, jump in for him, as you may say. I think, someone that stuck out that I didn't see before, I'm going to go along with that QB and talk about Aaron Rodgers. Brandon taking him in the 5th overall. Again, that MVP, what a performer. I think he was on the downhill trend. They drafted a rookie that was to fill his shoes eventually and coach him up, but he put that rookie in his place. And on the opposite spectrum, looking at, some bad picks, we're going to go with the same theme and look at QBs. If we look at skepticism, Mr. Aaron, his QBs, I don't even know about any of those picks. He had Cam Newton, went to a new team and didn't know how he was going to perform. We know what he did. Gardner Minshew, not even relevant. Derek Carr, we'll see. Mitch Trubisky, another backup QB. I think all those QB picks are a little rough there, Aaron.
Might be someone who desperately needs to trade up into our rookie draft and get one of these QBs in the loaded draft. Because absolutely, Derek Carr and Cam Newton are going to be his starters for next year. I'm not very excited about that. That would be pretty awful.
Emphasize on the word desperate.
Yeah, I think that was also a panic move because he went 4 rounds without picking a QB, and when you start when Daniel Jones gets picked, then you're like, well, I got to pick something right now. I need to pick something right now.
Yeah.
But on the same lines, look at Brandon. Brandon also drafted 5 TD or tight ends. And went with the Kittle in the 1st round. So I like his pick of Aaron Rodgers. I think that's one of the better ones that we overlooked last time. But the 5 tight ends, so I'm like on his. I drafted a lot of tight ends too, but I'm just saying they're very early too.
I'm curious when we get Brandon on here what his take is on that, because he did end up trading a good portion of those tight ends and kind of made it a little bit of a commodity right there. And with tight end premium league though, Kittle, I know we all questioned it, but this coming up year, every analyst is talking about how tight ends are a huge difference maker for that position specifically.
Makes sense. Yeah,
right.
I get at the 5 though. Woo. That was ballsy. I like it, but yeah, then you got Hill too. But
Jeremy, I hear Jeremy's back. Are you there?
Yeah, no, we figured out the connection issues here.
Oh dear. We were talking about the draft in general. I don't know if you heard the last question that I had asked, but you heading into the dynasty draft, and especially right after it, what were your thoughts about the draft? Were there teams that you thought did great? Were there any individual picks that really impressed you, or were there any picks that you think deserve a little bit of shame here?
Oh man, I think you guys were just talking about this. I know I cut off for a little bit, but Brandon's pick with Kittle, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. And he doesn't even have Kittle on the team. I think Anthony's got him now, right? And he gave up, right? So he drafted Kittle in the 1st round, and then also gave up 1st round picks along with Kittle. So that was probably it was bad. That was bad.
One of the head scratchers.
Yeah, that was. That was bad. Obviously that, and then the talk of the draft, Johnny and Anthony with their trade and stuff, and I know a lot of people had their opinions and thoughts on it, but I thought it was completely fine. Things just didn't work out for Johnny, with McCaffrey growing out. But if he didn't get hurt, I think people would have looked at that very differently, right? And everything. And, fortunately, Johnny's team bounced back a bit, so that pick wasn't as high as it maybe could have been and everything. Thank God. But yeah, I think those are kind of the 2 big things. And then I think with what I found kind of different with doing Dynasty, because it's my first time doing a Dynasty League, was, people took different stock, right, in with different players based off of their age, based off of their performance and just kind of what they're trying to do. So, I thought that was kind of on display, and that was kind of interesting to see. So
that's awesome. So moving on to transactions, the season starts and we get into the regular season. Tell us a little bit about the transactions that you made. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Did you make any trades? Did you make one trade? What were the moves that you made during the season?
Oh, yeah. I think I made one trade the entire time. I think I traded Jameis Winston to Sam for a 2nd round pick, not for this year, but for next year or something. I think that is literally the only trade that I made all year.
That's what I see. So you do have a second rounder from Sam, and Jameis Winston.
You had Tyler Higbee, and I ended up with him, and I used
you're
in
right.
the trade for James Robinson. So you had
right.
Higbee. I'm going to take a look at what trades you had.
Yeah, you traded Tyler Higbee for Mark Ingram.
You know what?
Trade.
You got Mark Ingram traded with
That's
Tyler
a great
Higbee.
trade, actually.
Hey, you know what? Mark Ingram was lead back at the time. Then he went down. Okay, so
I'm not hating on it.
No, I think that's a great trade.
Yeah. And then I had Higbee. I think at the time Higbee was so up and down. If you guys remember at the beginning of the year, like I thought he was going to run with it, and he just didn't do well. And he was splitting carries and catches with was it Gerald Everett and stuff. So it didn't turn out the way I wanted to. And I had Johnny, so I didn't care too much about it, to be honest. I think I lacked a lot of running back depth. I mean, if you kind of take him a running back situation, that happened when I made that. Marlon Mack went out for the year. So that hurt me big time. So I needed another running back, but I wasn't willing to kind of give up some of the other players that I had. I did make a couple of trades. Oh, look at me.
Jeremy, you had two trades, but you had 14 free agent picks. And hold on. You had 0 waiver wire ads. What happened? Were you sleeping on waiver wire day? Did you just didn't want to bid?
No, I didn't need to. I mean, I didn't see anything I want. Hey, I almost made the playoffs, and I didn't do much, right? I was sitting on my hands, and I almost made the playoffs. Come on. I'm like the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, I'm looking at mediocrity, and depending on the year, I may or may not make the playoffs.
he hit some kind of key free agents though. Like he got Alex Smith. He dropped Taysom Hill though. As far as
that one hurt.
I would have wanted to see Taysom. Yeah,
I needed that bad, so thank you. That saved my season.
Hurt.
You saved my season in more way than one because the Higbee turned into Robinson, and then that Taysom Hill carried me when Patrick Mahomes had a bye and everything else. So.
Sounds like Jeremy's your lifeblood, Johnny. He's just supporting you.
Dude, that's crazy.
I'll say, looking at the trade that he made with Sam as well, trading Jameis Winston at the time, who was a backup, to get a second-round pick, and I'm thinking about the value of the second-round pick right now. I don't know if I would trade my second-round pick in this season's draft for Jameis Winston, even though he is starting. So I kind of
whoa. We don't know that yet. Taysom Hill might start.
I think Jameis is going to start. I think Jameis is going to start. And to be honest, that just kind of emphasizes my point even more, is that I feel like I would say Jeremy probably came out ahead on that. And he also got Jacob Eason, who, I can't think any lower of everything about his background and where he comes from. Just unspeakable, but it's an extra player on his roster, a young QB that could potentially develop, and he's behind Wentz now, so now he's got both of them.
It killed me that Carson Wentz went there, and I really wasn't banking on that.
Probably fingers crossed, like please Philip Rivers retire, and then Eason can just slide right in there.
No, that is exactly what I was planning on. I actually had offers on Jacob Eason. I won't name who, but it was. I mean, it wasn't that high of a pick, like a 4th round pick, but for a 4th round pick for someone who's literally not doing anything right. I thought about it, but then it's like, what, Rivers is probably going to retire after this year. I've been reading a lot of reports about Eason and how he looks good. He's got the arm and stuff, and they drafted. He was a high draft pick from last year, so I really thought he was going to start. So I'm not gonna lie, I was crushed when I saw that Carson Wentz went to Indy. I was hoping for him to get out of Philly. That was the one place I didn't want him to go. So that killed me a little bit, and that does change things for how I'm looking at this year's draft in terms of my QB situation. I know it's not the greatest.
It balanced out though with Fitzpatrick going to Washington and them getting.
Fitz magic.
Yeah,
Anthony,
like that's...
I heard what you said. I heard what you said about my team, Anthony, in the podcast. I heard.
Okay.
I watched.
Okay, I roasted you a little bit, and you weren't on here, and we got you on here now. How would you defend yourself to some of my comments?
It's okay. It's okay. You said it was Tyler asked for a bold prediction, so it's a bold prediction, not like a who's obviously going to suck. That's how I'm going to take it as. So I'm not going to take complete offense to it.
Okay. I have to ask you something though.
I'm backing you up 100%. If someone needs to support Fitzmagic, I'm going to do that, Jeremy. 100%.
I mean, come on. I've now. I talked to Tyler about this, and Johnny, I know you're gonna be on. If Jasper was on this call, he'd have my back as well too. My QB situation is so dire that I have no choice but to play Fitzmagic. I am gonna live and die with the Magic this year, and I'm rolling with that because I don't know how many times having him on my roster weeks when I'm like, oh my god, if I just played Fitzmagic, I would have won by 20 points. Instead, I lost by 5, and that is the live and die with Fitzmagic. When you have him sitting on your bench and you're like, man, like who should I play somebody else? And you're like, you know what? I'm not going to play him this week because he had a mediocre week. He threw 3 picks last week and scored 5 points, and then he goes off for like 30. So I'm gonna go with it.
As someone who has lived and died by every single Ryan Fitzpatrick start over the last season and a half, I gotta say there's no better guy to root for. No one's having more fun than you. You might not win all the time, but no one's having more fun than you.
Yeah, you're gonna face the number 1 team and like randomly blow them out by 50, and you can just laugh.
And you know what? Fitzmagic has some weapons there in Washington. He's got some weapons there. So I was ecstatic about that trade. So, I'm cool with that. I know I got Tyrod Taylor, another garbage pick, but you know what? He's the only other roster in Houston next to Deshaun who we don't know how his legal situation is going to turn out. So he may actually end up starting over there too.
Your quarterback situation is better than mine, I'll tell you that. So I envy yours because I think it's pretty good. And Anthony has been quoted as saying Tyrod Taylor is one of the saddest stories ever in the NFL.
That is absolutely true. I mean, come on. Poor guy got punctured lung, lost his job, and just never came back.
What team is Tyrod Taylor on now? Isn't he on the Texans?
Yeah.
He's on the Texans, yeah. And he may start. He may start. You know what? I'm gonna somehow trade him to who's got him. I think it's Lee. I'm gonna try and trade him to Lee. That's what I'm
Jeremy,
gonna do.
Okay, I have to ask you though. Okay, you do not have to live and die by Fitzmagic. Even though he's awesome, Washington's gonna be entertaining as hell. But we added taxi squads, so there's additional roster spots there. We added additional roster spots, so there's gonna be a lot less of being able to pick up and sit on your hands. So, how active do you think you'll be in trading this year? And with that, do you have any targets in mind?
No, super good question. So, I am excited about the expansion with all that for a lot of different reasons, actually. So, I think knowing that now, I do plan to be a lot more active in trades this year. I didn't do much last year because I kind of just want to see how the dynamics of the league was. And for me, it was really hard to see how people were going to value picks when we were only looking at 4 rounds, Mm-hmm. So when a top player goes for 1 pick and then all of a sudden a good player goes for 2 picks and we can only trade out 4 years, right? So to me, it was really valuable for me to hold on to picks. But when you kind of have multiple rounds now, as deep as it is, it does kind of make you look at it a little bit differently. And then you have more opportunity to kind of recoup, some value, right? If you kind of give up some of those higher picks. So I do think I'll be a lot more active, in the draft, in trades this year. I think in terms of like what I'm going to try and target this year, obviously QB I'm not going to lie, that's a really big point of emphasis for me. Tight end, that's another one too. I think that's my other, when you roasted me there, Anthony, I think that was the other position group that you roasted. But you know what, Johnny, you came to my defense in terms of my running back and my wide receiver situation. So I get it.
Whoa, I complimented your wide receiver. I complimented.
Oh, you did too.
I complimented the running back too. Yeah.
You know what? Yeah. But Johnny complimented both, and Anthony, you just burned me on the other two. So I couldn't get past that. No, just kidding. But I think I think tight end is going to be like another one. I'm still. Man, drafting tight ends are so hard, right? Because it takes a few years, I feel like, sometimes for some of these tight ends to kind of develop. So we'll kind of see, in that I'm not trying to put all my stock in tight ends. That would probably be something that I might be open to looking at trading. If I'm going to have a trade, if I'm looking at a trade market, I'd probably be in the market for like a tight end or a QB. The QB one is hard for me right now because I think like the league currently in the current landscape, they're putting a lot of stock in it. So a lot of people are asking for a lot of draft capital for some of these QBs. I've got the number 6 pick. Depending on how things fall, like I may be able to draft a QB in the first round. So I've got some options. I'm not, I know I got holes, but I feel good with the strategy I have going this season and kind of addressing some of those.
I've got the Dynasty. This is just some random website. I guess it's Football Focus. What is this? PFF, Pro Football Focus. And basically their QB or their rookie draft rankings for fantasy. It's not for dynasty purposes, and it obviously isn't set up for Superflex or the QBs would be ranked higher here. But what are some of the players, whether or not you feel like you're in position to get them, or maybe not, that if you've had a chance to read anything about them or hear about them on ESPN or anything like that, any players that are particularly impressive where you'd really want them on your team if you could get them?
Yeah. So I mean, I don't think that these are players I'll get, but just Tyler, I'm a huge college football fan. So I watch a lot of the these games and stuff. I will say that the two running backs that he got up there. I mean, Najee Harris and Travis. Is it ETN? Yeah, ETN.
Yeah.
Those guys are beasts. I mean, they are big, strong dudes, right? I mean, I look at them and I think of Derrick Henry. That's what I think of when I see like either of these backs. So, I mean, that's kind of where I'm looking at. I don't know too much about them and by way of the passing game. I mean, that's a lot of kind of how the NFL game's a little bit different now. There's a lot more value in some of these pass catching type of running backs. So I don't know if you get those, but I mean, those two they're bell cows though, right? So they're going to get the share of running backs. I feel pretty good about my running back situation though. To be honest, so like I wouldn't miss out too much on that. I mean, obvious things would be QBs, right? I mean, I like the QBs there. I think Zach Wilson is going to be. I think he's going to be the surprise QB. I think out of this group. So, that would be someone I think that I might try and look at. Maybe I shouldn't share that here, but I think it's kind of obvious, right? I think it's obvious. Yeah. I think it's obvious that we're all going to be looking at that.
I don't think Zach Wilson will fall to you, to be honest, at 6. And I think that not giving away any secrets here, because I know a lot of people has kind of looked at our draft order and everything. I have the first and the second pick because I made a trade with Johnny and I lost the league last year, so I won the lottery as well. So my failure is paying off, and I'm probably looking at Trevor Lawrence on the first pick, but then the question mark is like, who do I go with the second pick? Is it Harris? Do I like really throw a wrench in everyone's plans and take another QB and kind of like get that run going early, but then I'm leaving other players on the board? So I think it'll be really, really interesting. I whether or not it's me taking Zach Wilson or so let's see who the 49ers draft at 3rd overall.
Exactly.
In the real,
that's
in the
what
real
I was
draft.
Gonna say.
Because that
with
could
everyone
be,
trading like that, like if
that
it's
could
Trey
be Justin
Lance,
Fields.
like that's not who I expected. Yeah.
Well, I think Trey Lance is, or excuse me, Zach Wilson's probably almost certain going to go second to the Jets in real life. But San Francisco doesn't make that trade unless they're getting a quarterback. And I was thinking like, oh, it's Fields for sure. And then I heard like Mac Jones. They were like, this is Mac Jones 100%. And I'm like, really? Because I'm thinking like, I don't think Mac Jones might not go until like the second round in our draft. But if he goes with the 3rd overall pick, you got to kind of, rethink that because he'll be put in a position on a pretty good team. So I think it's going to be wild. Do you know much about Mac Jones? Did you get to see any of his games in Alabama? Back up to Tua, by the way.
Yeah, no, I did see some stuff with Mac Jones. I know that he's actually surprising a lot of people, a lot of teams as well too with him. I mean, I don't know. I've just something about. I've never been a big fan, I guess, of just Alabama quarterbacks. Obviously, Tua's a little bit different. How my bias for Tua, 808 from Hawaii. Grew up, by the way, the town next to mine.
Oh.
Basically, no Tua. No, I'm kidding. I don't, but. My dad talked about him all the time, like he knew him, because he lived
This is like the opposite of Derek Lowe, but we won't get into that.
Oh my God, let's not even talk about Derek Lowe.
How's Mariota doing?
Mariota's still in Vegas, and my love for Mariota as well. I mean, he's a Duck. He tore my heart out of my chest several times. But at the end of the day, he's a good guy. Another son of Hawaii, so.
Mariota just restructured his contract to take a pay cut to stay with the Raiders because he really likes the organization and he likes being in Las Vegas. Apparently, there's a strong Hawaii connection or the Hawaiian community that lives in Las Vegas or something. So he's super at home there. So he took a pay cut to stay.
Yeah. No, he's I was really hoping he was going to get Carr's job. There was a moment in time I was in Hawaii, and to close out the season, it was going to be Tua versus Mariota because I think Derek Carr was hurt or something, and everybody in Hawaii was buzzing and they thought it was going to happen. Then I think Derek Carr cleared. I don't know if he was a concussion protocol or he got cleared to play, and it didn't end up happening.
Super
so that
was
a little bit. It was a little bit of a bummer.
Mm-hmm.
But Hoy would have been buzzing.
Absolutely. So, switching gears just a little bit as we're going to wrap this up. We've only got 5-6 minutes left. What are your thoughts for next season? Where do you think you're positioned to potentially finish? Are you going to be making a run? And then outside of yourself, who are a couple of the teams that you think are going to be at the top, and who are a couple of the teams that you think will be at the bottom?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think for me, first, like, we'll kind of see, if we'll be able to make a run there. It's going to be big. I think it'll be easier to assess kind of once the draft comes out. Kind of see. I expect there to be a lot of movement within the league around that time, and myself included. So I think that's going to be a big thing. That's going to kind of dictate where I'm going to be. I got some good pieces, so I may be in the trade market this year, Anthony. Jeremy may be dealing a lot more. I think there's one
You
thing
have a
I've
good
learned about
foundation to where you can do that
Yeah.
trade. So yeah, I really think you're gonna be in there.
Jeremy,
And like
I
you
don't
said-
want to drop any information, but I do have Kittle and Waller, and they're both available. So you just let me know.
Jeremy, I'm texting you trades right now.
I knew he was going to do that. But we'll
Who's
see.
going to
The
be the
other thing
first
is,
person
like,
to execute a trade live on the podcast? That'll be incredible.
oh my gosh. That should be a
The
thing.
notification comes out when Tyler's asking a question.
The ESPN, I'll have like the ESPN breaking news like come up on the screen. Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun.
There it is.
And we're going to find out it's like me and Anthony. We're currently on the podcast. But no, so anyway, yeah. So we'll see how my team goes. Like I feel like I got some good strong pieces here. I think if I'm able to adequately address kind of my QB and my tight end needs, I'm going to feel pretty good about where I'm at. But the draft will kind of dictate some of that and some of the movement around there. If that doesn't happen for me, I'm going to be a little bit more worried about that. So I don't know how competitive I'll be there, and I may kind of pivot to kind of going a little bit younger earlier in the season. But yeah, so those are kind of two big, but I feel really good. With the depth that I got, I've got some good young players. I like my running back, my wide receiver situation. So I feel pretty good there.
Okay.
I think, in terms of who's going to be in it this year, gosh, your team's a beast, man. I've got no reason to think that, your team's still going to be there again, to be honest. A lot of any holes that you got, all the old running back men that you have, you could just replace them with some younger pieces in the draft. So, yeah, I think you'll be fine there. I think Johnny might actually surprise people too. This year, if he's got some healthy players. Let's see. But other than that, I don't know. It was kind of close. I know Anthony won, but it's not like he ran away with the league title, I think there's a lot of parity in the league. There's a lot of teams that could just easily not make it too. So, it'll be kind of hard for me to tell. If there's one team who doesn't have a good team, it's not in a good situation. I'm not gonna lie. I still think it's Brandon. I think it's the George Kittle trade. He doesn't have a first round pick this year or next year. He doesn't even have Kittle on his team. So I'm not sure. I think Brandon. I'm most worried about Brandon.
I would say, just kind of bounce off your point about how random and how close this league actually is. You look at it, like your last 3 games of the season, you blew people out. Like you were scoring like top 2, top 3 amount of points, and barely didn't make it by 50. But you like leapfrogged like crazy. I think I may have blown you out in like week 6 because McCaffrey played 1 game. But you were blowing people out. It really looked like I thought you were going to make it, and then like 50 points kind of made the difference. So it is so close how a season can change.
Exactly, and your fortunes change with. I listened to the podcast, Anthony. I know you're hating on Big Zach Moss there, but
Big
Johnny,
Moss.
I heard you. Yeah, you were loving on him. Zach Moss was killing it until he went out.
The boss, dude.
He was killing it. He barely carries the ball, but he's the goal line back. So he scored a touchdown each game. And once he went out, I was just so thin at running back. I just kind of felt things just kind of fell off the wheels. So
don't sleep on Matt Breida though. They brought in Matt Breida.
I know, yeah, because the primary backup should be Zach Moss, and Zach Moss unfortunately has a history of injury. So yeah, so I'm a little bit worried, about that situation there. But Zach Moss, if he can be healthy, he's a good workhorse back. So, but yeah, I think the league's got really good parity. And like I said, Anthony didn't run away with the league. He's got all these draft picks and he won, so it looks like he's heads and shoulders above everyone. But I don't feel like that's the case. Because I think Johan, could have won. With that, and there's a lot of players that barely didn't make it. Like you said, Johnny, like I had a pretty good run there at the end. So, I mean, it's kind of the beauty of fantasy, right? I mean, sometimes it just hinges on a couple of injuries here and there, and you just got to hit on some of these draft picks. So there's the league's set up really well, I think. So I'm excited about it. It's hard for me to kind of make any predictions, but again, if I'm just kind of going off of that to win, man, I think it could be between any 5 players. I think losing, like I said, if I just had to, not hating on it, but I feel most bleak about Brandon's choices just because he doesn't have any draft picks for the next 2 years, and I don't know. That's super big in a dynasty league. Those first round draft picks. So not having those, I think, puts you kind of at a big disadvantage. So I mean, your best players are kind of what he's got right there. So that's what I think anyway.
That's fair. That's fair. So that was all the structured topics that I had. Any parting thoughts from Jeremy or anyone else that wants to jump in before we wrap this up?
Quick question, Jeremy. Do you think you're in a rebuild this year and you're going to try and get some more picks, or do you think you're going to win now and you're going for the championship, or is it kind of just where chips fall in the next month or so with the rookies?
Yeah, I think that's where it's at, right? You kind of got to go with I built my team because again, when we did the dynasty, I wasn't sure how things were going to go, so I built it so that if I wanted to kind of tear down, it wouldn't be a full rebuild. I mean, if we're kind of looking at I'm basically trying to stay competitive. Retool but rebuild if I want to be able to do it because I got the young pieces to go ahead and do that. I kept a lot of my draft picks. Some of these better players I have, I can trade them and I know I can get some pretty good value for it. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins, Stephon Diggs, these top wide receivers are available. If the season doesn't go the way I want it to, I know contenders would pay well for them. So, yeah, we kind of just got to wait and see, but. To be honest, I mean, every year I'm going into it, trying to be competitive. With this roster as I currently have, I feel good about my chances with at least making the playoffs, right? And you kind of see what happens from there. But obviously, if first half of the season goes by and it's not looking good, then we're going to rebuild.
That's fair. Any final questions or comments, anyone?
No.
Nope.
No.
All right.
I'm excited.
Should be a good year. Jeremy, thanks for a fantastic episode too. We might have to bring you on as a guest for one of the future pods, but on behalf of Johnny and Anthony and Jeremy, we'll sign off here. Thanks for listening, and we will catch you on episode 3. We'll see who it is. Have a good night. Bye.